Hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us to Introduction to GSoC. Thank you everyone for joining us. It's a delight to have you all. Today we are going to discuss about GSoC, but before that I would like to thank some GDSC partners that this session is in partner with. So first of all, I would like to thank GDSC CCOEW. Second, GDSC Banda Singh Bahadur Engineering College, Fatehgarh Sahib. GDSC Government Engineering College, Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh. GDSC Bharati Vidyapeeth College of Engineering, Mumbai. Thank you everyone for supporting us and promoting this event. We'll wait for 5 minutes for everyone to join in and then let's start with the event. Hi Sandhya, hello, how are you doing? Hi Chandler. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining in. Where all are you guys coming from? Let us know. Hi Prachi. Make sure if you want to invite any of your friends, then do so now. Now is the right time because we're going to wait for some more people to join in before starting. Hi, Suyash. Hi, everyone. Where are you all from? Hi, Sovik. Hi. I'm Siddhi, not ma'am. Thank you so much, everyone, for waiting. We'll start now. For anyone who's joined a bit late, this is an introduction to GSoC, and for that, we have a very special guest with us today. I would like to welcome and invite Jatin. Jatin is currently mentoring for Joomla organization under GSoC program. Hi, Jatin. How are you doing today?
Yeah, hello. Am I audible, right?
Your voice is a bit low, Jatin.
Yeah. So just a second. Am I audible, right?
Yes, you are audible now. How are you doing
Yeah.
today?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks
All
for
right.
GDSC Kalindi for giving me this opportunity to talk about Google Summer of Code. And I hope this session will help the new students to get into the open source and all.
Definitely. The stage is all yours, Jatin. Start
Yeah, sure.
anytime you want to. All right.
Yeah, sure. So let me share the screen. So this session is about introduction to Google Summer of Code. So before going to the Google Summer of Code, let us understand what is Google Summer of Code. So Google Summer of Code is an open source program which is funded by Google, and the all like it is an open source program where all the open source organization take part, and uh, which is directly funded by Google, where open source organization select students, and where the students contribute to the open source organization in in the span of 2 or 3 months, as the rules are changed now, and it is open to all the people who are above the age of 18. And what are some benefits of Google Summer of Code? Yeah, like the first benefit is, yeah, it is sponsored by Google, so you have a very good tag in your resume that you have done something incredibly good. Other thing that it shows that you are a good coder, and which helps you in your placement. The next thing is that you learn how to code in community collaborating, I'll say. And also there is a very good benefit of the Google Summer of Code, that you get a good stipend around 1.5k to 2000 US dollars. So let us move ahead. So let us understand what is open source first. Okay, before going into the Google Summer of Code, let us understand what is open source and why we are using it. So open source is nothing but is way where all people can contribute to the open source organization in their software development part. Not just software development, but there are other factors also, like marketing and all. But the main focus of the open source is to engage the new people to the open source societies, and that helps in the growth of the organization in so many levels. So let us understand what is open source first. It is, as I said, it is way of collaborating of the people in the open source organization. What are the open source organizations? So these are some organizations uh, in which the project is not private, and anyone from the community can contribute to that project, and it is licensed and peer productions, and it is decentralized. That means no one has the right on that project other than that organization. And why people usually go for open source, I'll say transparency, collaboration, and in, inclusive meritocracy. Like you choose with whom you have to work. It is open source is kind of thing that not like other things. If you talk about the other private programs, and if you talk about the corporate world, there are lots of opportunities, and and I'll say the growth in the open source as compared to the like if you talk about the normal corporate culture. Um, like the next thing is, how can anyone go into this organizations? Are there any formal memberships, or are there any uh, any procedure. So we are gonna talk about this in the session only. So here is example of some big open source organizations. Uh, you must have used the Mozilla Firefox, LibreOffice. This is the Linux, and this GNU. So these are some examples of the major organizations which are following the open source pattern, and which is helpful. These are some major organizations who are giving opportunities to the students and developers to contribute to their organizations through the programs such as GSoC. So so let's talk about Google Summer of Code. So what exactly Google Summer of Code? I told you in the brief already. So it is a open source program conducted by and sponsored by Google only, and it is an annual program where it happen every year, and each year organization takes part in this program and then select the students who can work on their open source projects. So why should you do GSoC? Like the first one is you will get to learn a lot from the open source organizations. There is always a chance of learning and growing. You will earn a good amount of stipend, as I said the amount, but I'll say that GSoC is not something you should do for the money. It is only for the purpose of the learning and growing. Growing, I'll say growth is important more than money. Like you can earn, but first there should be a growth. And if you follow this, you'll earn in the future more than that you're earning right now. So I'll say one of the professional experience you'll get because you're working with the developers who are contributing to that open source communities since so many years. For example, if I give my example, I'm contributing to the Joomla open source org, and there are some developers who are contributing like since last 20 or 15 years, so they have so much of experience, and you when you work with this kind of people, you learn a lot, not only the technical things, but I'll say so many things in non-technical way also. So this is one very good professional experience where you'll learn how the professionalism is and how you can apply that professionalism in your career. The next major thing that why should you do GSoC is the connections. I'll say the connections is a very important and underrated part that many people miss, because the connection is a thing uh, that connection is a thing that helps you a lot. Like if I give an example, if you wanna switch the company, like if you go to the corporate world, and if you have good connections, and uh, it will definitely gonna give you the benefits. Yeah, so let's if you have any questions you can ask.
Hi, Jatin. So right now there are no such questions. I think so. We can continue.
Yeah, okay, good. So let's move ahead and talk furthermore about how can you be a part of the Google Super of Code, and what are the timeline, etc. So usually organizations are announced in the mid of the March, and then first these organizations get selected, and then there are so many steps after that. After mid March, so from the mid March to mid April, there is a student application period where students submit their proposal. Uh, where students submit their proposal. So let's talk about what is a proposal. So proposal is proposal is document where you write all the details about yourself, about your previous history, about your technical history. I'm saying, uh, and how you're gonna implement that project, and that's with the detailed timeline. It is about to show that how you're gonna complete the project. It is basically the proposal. So after that, the mid-April to the mid-May is the application review deadline, and after that, the students are get announced. So uh, this is the part where it is most important in the term of the connections with your mentor. If you have good connections with the mentor, he will definitely gonna consider your applications and your potential application, and then uh, then the part comes of the community bonding period. If you get selected and if you get selected and then there is a period of the communication community bonding period where you learn a lot, where you learn more about your organization, where you interact with the mentors, Google Summer of Code admins, other developers, and your peers who are selected in that project, and you interact with them. You learn about that communities and with organizations and their work culture, etc. So after that, there is a coding period. Okay, so I'll say the coding period is divided into two parts. The first part, and of each in each part there are two evaluations, and you have to pass those two evaluations in order to successfully complete the Google Summer of Code. And after passing the two evaluations, yeah, you have successfully completed your Google Summer of Code, and then there is a result. Okay.
Hi, Jatin. I think we can take in some questions right now.
Yeah, sure.
All right, great. So I think the first question I would like to take is from Prachi Agarwal, and she says that I am a fresher in coding field and I'm at basic level of C++. So am I eligible for GSoC?
Hello, Prachi. Like I'll say, if you are above 18, then you are eligible. But there are some things to take care of. Like if you are what, you can contribute to the any organizations. You are totally eligible for the GSOC. But the thing is, these kind of programs have high kind of competitions. So you have to improve your resume and your experience set, and you have to learn the things that are required for the organizations. If you have C++ knowledge, you can search on the official website of the Google Server of Code C++, and it will show you all the projects related to C++, and you can choose or the organizations related to C++, and you can choose the organizations that you feel if you are comfortable with, and you can contribute to that organizations, and you can search the projects which uses C++, and if you have 20 to 30% of the knowledge of the one project, I'll say you can go ahead and you can contribute to that project. Basically, it's not about the it's not about the coding. Okay, it's about the communications and how you're behaving in the organizations. What are your connections with the mentor? These are some things that matters. Yeah, there is one thing there is one thing coding, but coding is not that important. Like but these other things matters a lot. So if you have I'll say 30 or 40% of the required knowledge of that particular projects, you can definitely go ahead with that project, and you can definitely apply for that organization.
Pretty interesting, because we all think that we do need to have an experienced coding level, but what you said actually makes
uh, yeah,
uh,
like Google Summer of Code is an introduction to the open source. So it is expected that the people who are applying to this program are new to coding. So it is not that you have some pretty good. It is not required that they want some pretty good professional experience from you, but it should be like there should be some other facts that matters with that like how interested you are in the project and how much you are active in the community, that also like that also matters. So I'll say anyone can apply to the Google Summer of Code because the main motive of the Google Summer of Code is to bring new open source developer to bring new developers into the open source. So yeah, that's it.
right. I would like to take a second question, and it's actually from Chandler. So she says that actually tried contributing to Joomla, but wasn't able to find the issues. And then there's a follow up thing that she says that would you please guide through so that I can find issues and ask or comment if I could work on them and make a contribution.
Yeah, like you I'll say there are issue trackers in the open source organizations. If you go to their GitHub repositories, you'll find so many issues which are unsolved, and people are solving them. So it is not like you go to any organization and you can't find a issue. There are lots of issues to take care of, and these issues are classified on some basis. So what people usually do is, if they are new to the open source, they first try to solve the beginner friendly issues, and these are some pretty basic issues that you can solve, and that can build your profile, like build your profile strong, and that that will help you to get into the this kind of programs, because you know that you have contributed to the these organizations and solved some issues. So you must have some knowledge about that organizations, how that side, like how that project of that organizations work. So it shows the mentor that yes, you can contribute further also. So I'll say start with some pretty basic issues, beginner friendly issues, and make a draft where there are lots of YouTube videos saying that when people ask how should I go for the issues, like I'm not able to, like, cause I'm not able to solve the issues, cause when you see the code base, it is actually pretty huge code base, and people who are new to open source are not used to work with this kind of huge code base. So if you want to contribute, like there are some YouTube videos who people say like go to the issue section and type I am new to open source, please help me. Trust me, this kind of things never works. No one gonna answer your query. You have to make a draft PR. I'll say what is PR. PR is a pull request, and you have to show that you are working on that issue. Like if you are gonna say, if you are gonna put that, if you are gonna put that I am new, someone help. If those people know how to solve this issue, or if those people have that time to solve that issue was already been solved. So it is kind of waste to, and it kind of like lowers your standards actually, because you are like a brand, and when you apply to a project or to an organizations, you don't want to lower your brand value. So I'll say these are some pretty beginner mistakes that people do. Make a draft PR, a draft pull request, how you're gonna implement and how you're gonna solve that issue. Do some research. See, research is very important when you talk about solving some open source issue. Do some research about it. Run that project in your local environment. Do some study, and then make a draft where, and then say that I have done these things. Please help me. There are some good people in the organization who are definitely gonna help you. So yeah.
Pretty interesting. We'll take the third question from Virat Sahani. And he says that I just got to know about GSoC. Do I have even slightest chance to get selected? Jatin, you're muted. Could you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, as I already said, you have a chance, but you have to try it. If you are not gonna try it, then you will not able to find that you are that you have that potential and all the stuff. So you have to try it. You have to give a chance. What will happen at the worst? You'll get rejected at the first time, but you'll get some experience, and that definitely gonna help you in the future when you apply next time. So I'll say give it a chance. So learn some basic things about that organizations, which like I'll say, if you're gonna go for some web domain, and then learn about some pretty basic HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, etc. How the web application works and all. And I'll say learn the pretty basic things, and then go for the organizations that will increase your chance.
Right. All right. I think we can continue with the slide. And everyone, please get your questions. We'll take them in between, not all at once, but definitely we'll be taking in between. So stay tuned. Jatin, we can start. We can continue with the PPT slides.
Yeah, sure. So next comes the application process. So if you are new to open source and want to go into the Google Summer of Code, how you're gonna actually go into the Google Summer of Code? What are the steps that you should follow in order to get selected into that organization as a GSoC student? So I'll say, first choose your desired organizations, preferably two or three, depending upon what you know. Like if you have interest in machine learning, then go for the organization that use machine learning. If you have interest in Python, search for Python, and on the official website of the Google Summer of Code, and you will get so many organizations that uses Python. So choose those organizations which uses tech stack that which is similar to the tech stacks, and I'm saying choose two or three, because after when the when the actual application period will get start, you will get to know will they release their project on what projects they want to work, etc. So the more the projects you get the option of, it is better that way. And if you choose that organizations as early as possible, it is always good, because you can join their communications channels. So this is the second point, joining the communication channel. So every organizations has their own communication channel, for example Slack, Discord, IRC, Clip, Ring Central. So you can mail on the mailing list and tell the developers and the mentors that you are interested in these organizations, and I want to contribute to the these organizations on their mailing list. They will gonna add you to the public community channel of their organizations, and you have to stay active in the channel in order to get in order to know more about the organizations, how the organizations really works, etc. And this is a very important step in order to get selected, because this is the only way where you can communicate with the other mentors and the developers and the peers who are contributing to that organizations. So joining the public communication channel is very important in order to get selected for the Google Summer of Code. The next thing is uh, the next thing is to clone that project in your local environment. If you know how that project work, what are if you are the user of that project, then only you're gonna get to know about the what are the problems that project is facing, you can improve how can I improve that project by your contribution. So get familiar with the front end of the project, the APIs that project is using, and the APIs, etc. The files. Yeah, sorry for the sorry for the
No
wait.
problem.
Yeah, let me continue. Yeah, so get understanding of the file structures and the front end part of the project, how this is working, the APIs that the project is that the project is requiring, the organizations is using. To get to know, get more knowledge of that in the first period, because that is the one thing that will be very helpful. That will be uh, turn out in your benefit. And as I said, start contributing by the good first issues, because these are some issues listed on the uh, organizations GitHub repo, which are kind of pretty basics, and you can solve them if you are beginner. These are some issues which are for beginners, and you can definitely gonna if you give it try, you can definitely gonna solve these kinds of issues. And ask maintainers about in the mailing list about how should you approach to this kind of issues. And the next thing that is very important is do some research, because if you ask some dumb questions, and that definitely gonna lower the chances of your selection. So this next thing is focus on the code and not on the discussions, and never brag about your knowledge that you know this tech stack, you have done this much projects, you have this kind of work experience. People or the mentors don't like actually don't give actually don't they don't want to like they don't want to see what have you done, but they want to see that what you're gonna do with the project. So don't brag in front of them that you have done this, because they are quite a high level developer that who has done lots of things since many years. So this is the one thing that you shouldn't do in front of them. And as I said, like, don't exaggerate about your past work and experience, because this kind of this the people uh, who are who are in the who are maintainers and the developers for the last few years have quite good amount of experience, and they can see right through you. So don't just exaggerate what you have done in the past, and repeat all the process until you get familiar with the organizations, and that's the one way you can get selected into the Google Summer of Code. So let's move ahead. So next very important part that comes is how we are going to discuss the ideas and doubts with the open source environment. So the first thing that I'll suggest is be polite and let the experts speak, because these are some people who are contributing to the project and not getting for not the money, I'll say. So I'll suggest that be polite and ask your doubts politely, but don't expect the politeness in return. Okay. So don't expect the politeness in return, because there are some people who do open source just for fun and can be rude sometimes. So they like, as a student, it is our responsibility to be polite and polite with them, and don't it is our responsibility to not frustrate them, because they receive lots of messages every day, and that's why it is our responsibility to be polite in first place. And be sure to explicit thank the person who solves your doubt, as they invested some amount of their personal time in your endeavor. So this is very important to thank that person and help out others if possible. Not I'm here, I'm talking about the peers who are contributing and who are new to others. If you know something and if you have done something, and if the other person need that help, help them, because this is what open source means. So in the open source, I always say it is not about the competition; it is always about the collaboration. So it is about the learning and collaborating. So help others, and this is the one way where you can learn, and there will you can learn more. So yeah, like how to ask for the help from the maintainers and the developers who are working on the organization. It is very important. Like if you get stuck, and this is definitely gonna happen when you are gonna contribute to the open source. If you get stuck and you want some help, so how you are gonna help? How you are gonna ask that you need help without without letting them feel that you don't do anything, and without letting them feel that this person is dumb, etc. So try to ask intelligent questions in open source. By intelligent, I mean here is some example of what does intelligent question means. Before asking a question, try to search on their forums or on their mailing, on their GitHub repo, that is this question is asked before or not. Try to like googling is a very important thing when we talk about this open source development and maintenance. Like open source is like self service, and don't expect people other people to google's thing for you. Like you have to google for yourself. If you have doubts, first try to google it. There are some good websites like stack overflow, stack exchange, and where you can where these new developers and maybe sometimes experienced people ask the questions and they get the answers. So try to google first and then ask the questions. The next point is, so sometimes what happened when you ask the question, like many people may not react negatively, but when you ask doubts that were easily googleable, it is always to show a resourceful, like the to show resource fullness and solve issue on your own. So try to solve the issues on your own before asking for the help, and tell them that you have done all these things, that you have gone through all these links, search these sites. Then after, at the end, if you don't able to solve that issue, then tell them that you have this kind of issue and you're getting stuck. And there is also one there is a method that people like, there is a way that asking for the help, when asking for the solution of the problem, don't expect the direct solution from the mentor, because that's not the work of the mentor. They are gonna give you a way, and they want to see the what your thinking is. So people always help those who wish to themselves. That's the thing. So try to help yourself first, and then the other people are gonna help you. So this is a very, very important point. Try to search about the issue that you're facing, and then you can ask if at the end, after all these things. and in that also mention all the technical details related to the problem that you are, like example, your testing environment, your OS version, your package version. That helps the maintainer or like the vendor or the developer to understand your problem pretty quickly, that by which you don't waste your time more. So these were some things that you should follow if you are new to the open source and if you stuck to the any organizations, and how to find organizations. But what are the prerequisites? Are there any really prerequisite to contribute to the Google Summer of Code? So yeah, there are some, but these are some kind of basics. In order to in order to increase your chances of getting selected as a Google Summer of Code student, you need to understand the basic at least in one field. What do I mean by one field? Like there are fields. It's fields like web, machine learning, blockchain, clouds, and artificial intelligence. So you should know the basics of that field at least. Then there is one thing that you should know a programming language, at least one programming language. But all the things in that programming language, like object oriented programming, is important. And if you know more than one programming language, it is always good, because it is not always happening that if you are gonna choose a project that uses the same programming language for the project also. So two three language, if you have two three language, if you know two three language and you can work with that those languages, it is always preferable. And the next important thing is googling is a skills. So I cannot stress this enough that googling is very important when you work in open source. So make Google, Stack Overflow, GitHub as your best friends, because these things are gonna help you a lot when you're gonna contribute into the open source. So be open and ready to learn new skills for a short time of period. Because what happens when you contribute to the open source organizations, you learn a lot, because there are so many things, so many technicals as well as non-technical things that you will learn in the short amount of period. So yeah, so try to learn the prerequisites that are mentioned in the project's description. It is not like you should know all the skills. As I already said, if you know 30 to 40% of the skills, also you can go ahead with the project. But the more you know, the more there are more chances of getting you selected. And for the operating system or the kernel, many people preferred the Linux, but for the development view, if I talk about in technical terms, for the development, many people use Linux, like Ubuntu, etc. But I'll say if you're working on a Windows, then it is not that problem, because you can, I'll say, OS or the kernel is not a problem, because you can solve or you can work on any local environment. So, what preparations you should do? So the first is, as I said, Googling. Master the skills in Googling. Like this is very important skill, and it is gonna help you a lot. But the second one is, let the Linux be your daily driver. Learn the commands in the Linux. Try to develop the things on the Linux, as majority of the organizations wants the Linux as your uh, primary local environment. The next thing is find your foreign language and domain. So be master of one domain. Try to explore a domain in a detail, so that you can contribute in that domain, etc. Web development. If you're going for web development, learn the basics of that domain, and then if you know the basics, you can definitely contribute to that organizations. And the most important thing is learn about the git and github. I'll say Git and GitHub is extremely important thing in order to get started with the open source. If you wanna go for open source, this is must skill that should you should know, and try to explore about try to learn Git, learn how the clone works, how the forking works, and how to make a pull request, what is pull request, etc. Try to learn Git as early as possible because this is must skill, and that will be definitely gonna need for the open source projects that you're gonna apply for. Yeah, so what are the changes in Google Server of Code 2022? So it is now open to everyone now. Like if you are 18 and above, like you can participate in Google Summer of Code. And projects, they divided the projects in two halves. The first one is large size project, and the second one is medium size projects. Like large size project, like it is for the 3 months, and the medium size it is for the 1.5 month. The stipend for the both project is different, and they increase the flexibility of the timings this year for the projects. So let me tell you about my work, what I have done. I'm Google Summer of Code mentor in Joomla open source organization, and I'm contributing to in the open source since last 1 year. And also I'm MyTech's Global Ink Research Scholar. I've got the MyTech's Global Ink Research internship from the École Polytechnique de Montreal, Canada. So I'll be spending my summer in that university under my research for my research work. And this year I'm contributing to the Google to the Joomla. Joomla is a CMS, that is content management system. I'm contributing to the Joomla as a mentor, and how I started with my work is there is a program called as Open Source Promotion Plan. I participate in that program, and it is organized by Institute of Software Academy of Sciences. It is kind of Chinese GSoC. All the things are same. This was my project. My project name was Guided Tour. So guided tour, you can read the description about the projects in the overview of project, the tech stacks it needed, and what I learned during the internship, like contributing to the code through the through the mailing list, etc. Writing a safe software and working with MVC-based component, importance of coding style. I'll say coding. The most important thing that I learn while contribution is the coding style, because most of the people ignore coding style, but it is as important as coding, because it is the way that people know that how good coder are you. So never ignore coding style. Yeah, that's one tip from me.
Well, thank you so much, Jatin, for a very informative session. We have had a lot of questions so far. So let's start with them, and I'll continue from where I left. And I'll take the question from Chandler, who says that also, do you get selected if you contribute on documentations?
I'll say no, because this is a kind of technical fellowship or internship, I will say. So you have to do something in technical domain, writing, doing some contribution into the documentation is not like, it is not needed for the organizations. There are other programs for that also, but if you are aiming for the Google Summer of Code, that this will not gonna help you. You have to do something in the technical domain, and as I said, to do that you can solve some beginner friendly issues. Yeah.
Right. Okay, I'll take the next question, and it's from Rahul, 25, and he asked, is prior open source contribution a requirement?
Yeah, so if you have prior open source contribution, it is always welcome that if you have that, it shows that you have worked on that particular project in the particular organizations. It increase the chances of your selection. And but if you don't have any prior open source contribution, don't worry. Try to fill that gap with your personal projects, etc., your work experience. So I'll say a prior open source contribution is not a requirement to get started with the Google Summer of Code, because Google Summer of Code gives you the platform to contribute to some of the major organizations in the world, and that only it is needed. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'll take the next question from Virat Sahani, and he says, can you give some tips to understanding the code base of any organization and show a demo for your organization, Joomla?
Sure. Like, should I share my screen or something?
Definitely, you can, yes.
So I hope the screen is visible. This is the main side of the Google Summer of Code. And if you want to get started with the Google Summer of Code, you should first go and browse all the organizations. And uh, here are some tips that I'm going to give, that how you should choose an open source organizations. So if you know, like, if you know the Python, so search for Python, and it will show the organizations that uses the Python. Django Software Foundation is a very famous org. Just a second. I think the page is open, and you can see when you go, if when you search for the Python, you get a lot of organizations which uses Python, and similar for the web. And let me show for my organizations which come under the domain of the web. If you search, if you search for the Joomla over here, yeah. So you will get this kind of interface where it shows the technologies, what are the needed technologies. There are lots of others also, but these are some basic technologies from where any open source beginner can start from. These are some topics that this organization deals with. And here are some mailing list, it's a Twitter handle and its Facebook handle, and you can mail them. and it is the organization's main page. It will take time to load. Okay, it is their main page. Okay, so what is let me show you the example. Like if I'm a beginner and I want to contribute to the open source, how will I approach? The approach is important and the mindset is important when you are participating this kind of programs. So here is contributors guides, and you should first read all the guide that they are providing to you, and it is only like it is only for beginners' sake. Okay, so if you are beginner, you can read this. What is Google Summer of Code? What is project timeline? Like last year's Google Summer of Code project. It is always good to go through the last year Google Summer of Code projects, because you will get an idea like what have been they doing, and how can you help them in the technical terms, information about the mentors, etc., related articles. So go through the ideal list of every organization. So if you go to the idea list, this is a kind of standard procedure, and you should follow these procedure for every organizations. I'm showing for my organizations. You can follow for other organizations also. So this is the idea list. This is the interface where they should talk, uh, where they tell what are the ideas for this year's Google Summer of Code, and what kind of project that they are working for. Like if I say the project one, workflow and scheduler, you'll see the project description, etc., the knowledge of the prerequisite required, the difficulty level of the project. Like you can sort with the difficulty level of the project, like this is medium one, this is easy one, this is medium one, and this is the hard project. So you can sort the project, but one tip is that most of the people go for the easy and the medium one project, but if you want to increase your chances, go for the hard one, and go for the domain that rarely people use, rarely you will see a new contributor over there, like clouds, etc. Because if you talk about the web, and there is a lot of competition in the web. So if you go for the domain that like cloud, very few people contribute to the cloud, so it increases your chances of getting selected. And in the web, if you are gonna going for the web, select projects which have high to medium to high difficulty, because these are the some projects on which very few people are gonna apply for. So you can go for such kind of projects. So to get started with the open source contribution, you should go on their official GitHub page. So let me search the official GitHub page of the Joomla. Yeah, so this is the official GitHub page of the Joomla. You can see so many projects, so many repositories over here. The main repository is Joomla CMS, and you can see the issues. There are 737 issues over here, and these are some issues that you can solve. There is good first issue, as I said, that search issues which are good first issues, and you can contribute to those issues. Uh, yeah, these are some good first issue currently on the organizations. So see, like what is done over here is this person has created a draft pull request. So what exactly is draft pull request is, you are giving a you are giving in steps, and how you are going to implement those steps, etc., in the form of the pull request. And this is the suggestion. You have to start from you have to start here actually. Then someone from the organization will be answering your questions, etc., So as he said, this is a like a potential task for the GSoC students. So to make a draft pull request and try to do all the necessary things to solve the this kind of issues. So when you solve those issues, make a pull request, and you can see there are 253 pull requests right now, and for the different versions of the Joomla over here, and you can make your own pull request, a draft pull request that also counts. You can do testing, etc. And as I said that you can mail the mentors. They will add you in their public community channel, and where you can communicate with the other mentors and the other developers as well, that how to contribute to the open source, etc. How should you how like uh, how can anyone get started with the project, etc. So I'll say that if you are new to the any open source organization, start from its readme. This is a very important part because it gives how you can get started with that open source organization. Okay, so it tells about little bit what is Joomla, looking for an installation. Like it's a pretty basic stuff. What you should do is set that do the setup in your local environment. Local environment, nothing but your computer or your PC. Do this, follow these steps, and follow this. Like here is a list how to set up local environment in your PC, how to set up the project in your PC. So follow this, run the project, and here is the issue trackers. Here is a documentation for the developers. You can read all these things. It is given on the organization's GitHub page. You just have to explore. Like, see, the thing is exploring. The more you'll explore, the more you will get to know about the organizations, the projects. The more skill you will learn while the exploring. There are some intermediate and beginner and advanced kind of stuff that is given, that anyone can learn about these organizations. Like it is acceptable that first time if you see this, it will be you're not gonna understand all the things, but you have to try. You have to start at some point, and you can then get you can you can get to know more about that organizations bit by bit. So start, and it is not that hard. Anyone can contribute to any of the project.
Well, that was pretty detailed. So thank you so much, Jatin. I hope all the beginners and everyone understood how to actually start contributing, or how to actually start, because that is one of the difficult part. We'll go on to the next question, and I would like to take the next question also from Viraj Sahani, and he says that, do I need Linux in the proposal period too?
Hello, Viraj. As I said, that the local environment, that you're using Linux or Windows doesn't matter. If that organization has a need of Linux, then you should go for Linux. Otherwise, you can work on Windows too. I personally prefer Windows as like my organizations. Most of the people uses Windows. Linux has been never a problem with us. But if the organization needed Linux, you can go with the Linux.
Makes sense, right? All right. Next question is from Sahib Anand, and he says that, so if I have no major projects, will my proposal be considered?
Uh, mentors that yes, uh, like, am I audible, right?
Sorry, what did he
Yeah,
say?
am I audible, right?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, so in order to get selected and to increase your chances to get selected in any organization, you need something to show, right? The competition is really high. lots of people apply to a single project, but what is the one thing that gonna separate you from the others is your project, your past experience, your skills, and your prior contribution. So try to build. If you don't have any project, it is not a problem. There is still time for the Google Summer of Code. You can build some projects, and you can do some open source contribution by solving this beginner friendly issues. And it is not like if you want to contribute to one organization, you should solve the beginner you should solve the issues of that organization only. You can solve the issues of the other organizations also. That also counts. That shows the mentor that yes, you know something about the open source and you can contribute to the project as well. So people from this organization want who can really complete their project and who can has the ability to complete the project, who is well versed and who has got all the skills that are required for the project. So it is up to you how you are going to show that person that you are a good candidate. So these are some things that are needed. It is not mandatory, but it increases your chances of getting selected. So try for some things and try for these things and try to add these things in your resume. And your proposal is also very important in this matter.
Jatin, actually, I would like to really appreciate you because you've been so honest about this whole process, about the environment that is there in an open source organization. And as you mentioned, that not everyone will be really helpful because it's an open source organization. They're giving you your time and effort, so they can be a bit rude sometimes. But then it's on our part that if we are taking some help, we should be polite. We should control, and all the things that you are saying are really making sense. So yeah, thank you so much for that. Moving on to our next question. So from Chandler, we have taken already this one with the contributions and documentations to be considered. So skipping this one, then again Chandler asked that more weightage is given to large projects. How does it work?
uh, Yeah, in what terms? I didn't understand the question actually, but I'll say that every project in the organizations, if they are mentioning any project, it is equally important. But why did I say that you should go for the hard or medium project? Because people don't go actually for them when they try to apply for the easy projects. So it increases your chances of getting selected because the lower the number, like the less the number of the applications, the it increases your chances. So like that's why I said go for the hard or medium projects. Yeah.
Right. Then there's a follow up question from Chandler herself, and she asked that we need to submit three proposals. So submitting two small and
uh,
one large project works.
See, I'll never suggest submit more than one proposal because uh, it never works. Okay, make one proposal and it should cover all the points because I've seen many people's applying for more than one projects and one proposal and they don't get selected in either of them. And my mentors and the fellow other mentors also said that. Usually people who apply for more than one projects don't get selected in any one of them. So this is one tip that I'll say, that is to apply for only one project. And yeah, that's it. Like make a one
So,
project. Yeah.
so when we're applying only for one proposal or when we're only submitting one proposal, does it matter if you're submitting one small or one large? I mean, by as we are talking that, does it increase any chance of getting selected?
Uh, no, actually, if you are applying for any of the project, it doesn't matter it is smaller project or larger project. You are at the end you are gonna get the tag of the Google Summer of Code student. So It is just for your sake that in order to get your chances of getting selected, which projects you should apply is there are if there are more number of applicants, definitely the competition is gonna be difficult and competition will be more. But if there are less number of applications, the comparatively competition will be less, and it is up to you that how you're gonna present yourself in front of mentors, and how you're gonna uh, uh, send them your proposal is very important, because that counts, because this is the way that the mentor is gonna judge you on the basis of your work that you have done, and are you able to are you able to finish that project or not. So that thing is important to hear.
Right. Great. Moving on to our last question, and Anshita Singh asks that do mentor selects the candidate or the Google team?
See, it is obviously the mentors, because Google is just intermediate. Google want to promote open source. At the end, it is the mentor organizations that which selects the candidates. So Google is just intermediate. It just selects the organizations and give them a stipend, etc. Then yeah, Google is just intermediate. Organization selects the candidate, and yeah, that's it.
Great. All right. I think this was one of our last questions. So it has been a good roller coaster journey so far with you, Jatin. And if anyone
Yeah,
has
thanks.
any questions, last minute questions, we can take it up. And while you're waiting for that, I'll like to ask you one question. And you have given us so many tips, so many things to take away from this session. But what do you think? What is your one advice that people should follow while making a proposal? So, yeah,
So one thing that I'll say is the communication with the mentors, because at the end, mentor is gonna select you. Okay, I have seen so many people who are good at technical aspects, which there is example of my friend only, who applied for the GSoC last year, and was he knows the projects from top to bottom, but didn't he didn't get selected because his communication was weak with the mentor. And mentor is gonna select you if you are active in the community. So communication is the key to get selected, I'll say. Communicate with your mentor on the daily basis, and that will increase your chances of getting selected.
that really does make sense. So, thank you so much, Jatin, for sparing your time and effort and being really honest with us and just giving us all away. Lastly, I would like to again thank all our partners, GDSC partners. And the first partner is GDSC CCOEW. Then comes GDSC Banda Singh Bahadur Engineering College, Fatehgarh Sahib. The third college comes GDSC Government Engineering College, Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh. And then we have GDSC Bharati Vidyapeeth College of Engineering, Navi Mumbai. This wouldn't have been possible without you all, and thank you, audience, for being such an amazing interacting agents. Amazing questions. I got to learn myself a lot. Thank you so much, Jatin, for giving your time today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me for the session.
Yes. Thank you. See you guys all in the next upcoming session. Stay tuned. Yes, see you until next time. Thank you, guys.